Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's ImmaLetYouFinish, show number 189 on the Pantheon Podcast Network, the number one music podcast network in the world. And it is I, your host, Courtney. Yes, I said host because my co-host and partner in crime, Miss Amy Linden, is on a vacation. You guys know every year around this time, which is her birthday time, she goes away. And this time she's in one of the stands. I think she's in like Roberta Flack's stand. One of the stands. I can never remember which stand she's going to. Not the stand Vicky's from. So she's in one of the other stands. And so you just got me. And I was going to like get a co-host or maybe take this week off. And then I was like, well, you know what? A bunch of things have happened. And here I am with a microphone, and I can probably get a word in now. So let me try and do a show by myself and see how that works. Okay. So let's start with your girl Nicki Minaj being arrested in Amsterdam over the weekend on the 25th, caused her to miss her Manchester show, which was scheduled for that night and which has since been rescheduled for the 3rd of June. She was arrested evidently for transporting soft drugs. So she had pre-rolls in one of her pack bags. I guess they flagged her bags. They flagged her bags and scanned them and searched them and found pre-rolls. She was arrested, held for about 5 to 6 hours, and was very unhappy about it. She live streamed it. You know, as someone who's worked with artists for a really long time, you know, in my career, I had a period when I was in management at 2 different companies. You feel like there's something that you always have to deal with your artists when you're going internationally about going from region to region, because the rules are absolutely different in different places. And weed in some places is the same thing as coke, heroin. It's the same thing. Now, Amsterdam, because of their policies in weed, the drugs were considered soft drugs. So I guess that's a category that doesn't put it at that same level. But for whatever reason, they decided to search her bags. When her bags were taken from her, she thought they were put on the plane, and they were searched. She's thinking she's going to get on a plane, and she's asked to get in some van, and she's live streams herself being taken to a police station, and you know, and she's held for 5 to 6 hours, and the show ends up being canceled. Yeah, it's one of those things where Nicki Minaj is absolutely a seasoned international touring artist, very seasoned. So part of it can be like, was it a mistake? Another part was, you know, did you understand that you were maybe thinking your bags wouldn't get checked? Whatever it is, it's unfortunate, but artists have to really be careful, especially internationally. We've seen this so many times especially with weed, because we don't take weed as seriously here in the US. We just don't. It's being deregulated in a lot of states. The feds are looking to lower the classification. And so it just feels like it's not that big a deal. But then you're outside of the country and boom, you end up with a bigger deal. Glad the show was rescheduled. Hopefully her tour will go on without a hitch for the rest of these European dates. It was so successful in the US that she's actually added a second leg of US dates that are going on pre-sale. And listen, we want everybody to just get through their tours with no drama, no arrest. We don't like to see that for anybody, you know? So hopefully this was a lesson learned, and there's no repercussions from that. Next up, we have, speaking of tours, the Black Keys having to cancel their arena tour due to poor ticket sales, which to me makes no sense, because with a band like the Black Keys, why would you be booking them in arenas? I just don't feel like they're an arena act. And it always seems more embarrassing to have to cancel a tour because you can't sell tickets rather than just going into smaller rooms. Like they're years past like their biggest hit, right? So it's not like you have the hot record right now and there's a fever pitch for this. And I think it really hurts your brand when you have to cancel a full tour. You know, there's been a lot of talk about the Jennifer Lopez tour and you know, tickets being discounted, and that's another one where it just feels like she's catching L's left and right and right and left. You know, the album wasn't a hit, the documentary wasn't a hit, the visual album wasn't a hit, and so now you're talking about a tour that starts in June where hopefully you won't be playing half empty arenas. You know, you just want people to actually understand who their audience is and not put themselves in position to be going out there and having empty seats. You know, nobody wants to play to an empty room. So let's get back to knowing actually where our place is in the pop pantheon and planning accordingly. And speaking of that, can I just say right now, I'm kind of really happy for this resurgence of Nelly Furtado. All of a sudden, she's everywhere. And I'm like, you know what? She dropped a new tune. I see her all over socials. I'm hearing her music again. She did a really fantastic Tiny Desk. It's like, you know what? I didn't know I needed more Nelly Furtado. But now that I'm getting more Nelly Furtado, I'm like, bravo for motherfucking Nelly Furtado. And a little bit of a boo for Taylor Swift. Listen, Taylor Swift has the #1 album again in this country. Billie Eilish came in at #2 with our highest sales week ever, over 300,000. My issue is Taylor put out another 6 variants of this album, and then I guess restocked more signed CDs. How much money do you need your fans to spend on versions of your album? At this point, it feels like there are 20 versions of this Poet Society. It's like enough is enough. Enough is enough. You do not need to keep putting out different versions of this album. We see you, we hear you, you're inescapable. I'm really glad that the tour is a success. She just played Lisbon for the first time, and she got such thunderous applause after her Champagne Problems performance that the venue turned the lights on so that she could see the people and soak in the moment. We're all here for you being successful. I want everybody to be successful. I love seeing women be successful. But there is a thing when you have a chokehold around the neck of your fans and you keep putting out versions and you know that your fans are fanatical and they're going to buy all of them. And that is really unnecessary. It really is. So let's chill out with 46 versions of the same record. It feels like you just can't get enough, and you have enough. It's cool. Speaking of enough, the Justice Department has evidently had enough, and they are filing a suit looking to try to break up Ticketmaster and Live Nation. Now, there's some of you will probably think, why is that a big deal? Well, I will tell you why it's a big deal. To me, Live Nation should not be able to own the venues or have deals with the venues that they don't own, do the deals with the artists, and then buy the company that sells the tickets. Because as someone who has been going to concerts for as long as I can remember, and I'm sure you've all noticed now, the price of every show is ridiculous, right? And yes, artists do work in the part of planning how much you want to charge for tickets. But artists didn't come up with things like, oh, we're going to do platinum pricing, which means on the first day when everybody's trying to buy tickets, the ticket prices can fluctuate based on demand. Well, of course there's high demand because you're also, Ticketmaster, reselling the tickets in your legal, like, explain to me how you can sell the tickets, resell the tickets, own the venues, block other ticketing companies from being in the venues, and then put the level of fees on tickets. I remember when the Beyonce tour was going on sale, and I was seeing friends who wanted to go, and they were hitting me being like, the fees for per ticket, not even for the order, per ticket were in the hundreds of dollars, because they're going through platinum pricing. So these ticket prices are fluctuating when you're trying to buy them, and you're rushing to try to buy them because you're thinking, well, if I don't get these, at least try to get them at cost that keeps changing. I'm going to have to go to Ticketmaster's secondary market for thousands of dollars. It's ridiculous. It is, and they're trying to hit back saying, well, artists plan the prices. But yeah, you guys are playing an ugly game, and this never should have been able to happen. Because how do we go from ticket fees being maybe 30, $40 to hundreds of dollars when I'm not even, listen, fun fact, when I was younger, I worked at Tower Video in the Village, and they had a Ticketmaster machine. And I used to work the Ticketmaster machine. You don't even have to go to a person anymore. There was like, if you're of a certain generation, you remember going to places that had your Ticketmaster, and you might have to go the day before and get a bracelet if it was a big show, because then a number would be picked. Or you just went and you would line up early in the morning and wait for that Ticketmaster box office to open, and you would see a person. To be charged all of these fees and you do not see a person, everything is automated, is bullshit. And then you hear how much the people at Live Nation, especially on the Ticketmaster side, are making. They made record numbers of money last year. Record numbers because of fees. That's all it is. And it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. So they need to be broken up. They absolutely 1000% need to be broken up. It has been unfair to people who want to go to see shows. I remember I had a friend who wanted to take his kids to see Justin Bieber, and he paid thousands of dollars for 4 tickets. And I'm just kind of like, even shows for young people are costing this much. It is time that someone step in. I'm not saying that artists, it's not, you shouldn't get a value for your shows. But when we're talking about nosebleed seats that used to be the cheapest being $300 and $400, we have a problem. We have an absolute problem. And live music should not cost the same amount of money as your mortgage. I'm sorry, it just shouldn't. And if you want your fan base, like, listen, the Rolling Stones have always been an expensive ticket. When I saw Barbra Streisand in probably it was 2000 at Madison Square Garden, that was a $1,200 ticket in 2000. But it was Barbra Streisand, and she was someone at that point hadn't toured in decades and was supposed to be like, this is the only time I'm doing this. I mean, she has absolutely toured more since then, but it was also an older crowd. It was a very money crowd. That show, everybody was dressed to the nines. Men had on suits, women had on gowns. Barbra Streisand had carpet put down in the garden. Everywhere where you look around, you see the scoreboards and stuff had drapery. You know what I mean? So it was an experience, and you were coming to see a legend who hadn't been here in decades. But every little show should not be $500 a ticket. I'm sorry, but it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So get in there. I hope they're successful with this. And I really 1000% hope that company gets broken up, because it needs to get broken up. And moving on, South Park had a obesity special that it dropped last week. And one of the pieces of it was they were talking about the new weight loss drugs. But they were like, if you're poor, they have a new drug, and it's called Lizzo. It's about body positivity, not giving a fuck, and doing what you want with very little physical activity. And Lizzo posted a reaction video of her watching it. And the one thing I'm going to give her is that she had a sense of humor about it and thought of herself as like, wow, I must be the shit. Like, if these guys, a show that's been on for 25 years, are putting me in the show. And it was actually really brilliant. It's super funny. If you haven't watched it, you really need to give it a watch because it is. Listen, the South Park guys, I gotta say, culturally, do I feel like it has the same punch as it did when it first came out? No. Until they have these moments where they really hit on true cultural shit. And then it kind of reminds you of the brilliance of the writing of this show. They got it. They hit it on the head with this Lizzo reference. They hit it on the head with the Harry and Meghan episode. They hit it on the head with the Oprah and Oprah's Minge episode, the Tom Cruise episode. You know, like, those guys really 1000% are really brilliant and funny. And if you haven't seen it, I would absolutely 1000% suggest that you go back and you see it. Now, people are absolutely 1000% losing their shit over Apple's list of 100 best albums. So I said to myself, Courtney, what are the said 100 best albums that Apple has set? So let's go from 20 to number 1, shall we? So 20 is Pet Sounds, the 19, The Chronic, 18, 1989, Taylor's Version, 17, What's Going On, 16, Blue, 15, 21, 14, Highway 61 Revisited, 13, The Blueprint, 12, OK Computer, 11 is Rumors, 10, Lemonade, 9, Nevermind, 8, Back to Black, 7, Good Kid, Mad City, 6, Songs in the Key of Life, 5, Blonde, 4, Purple Rain, 3, Abbey Road, 2, Thriller, 1, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Let me take a sip of water. Excuse me. Refreshing water. So refreshing. Okay. Now, you know how we feel here at ImmaLetYouFinish. We hate fucking lists. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. We hate lists. And this list, you know, it's subjective. Is it a good list? Sure. Is it a correct list? Not in a million years. Because one, if you want to really be fair, if you're talking about a Taylor Swift album and you say 1989, it would be the original over the remake. We know why she's re-recording these records, right? But the one that had the biggest cultural impact is the original. But that's above, like, The Chronic. That's above, like, Carole King's Tapestry, somebody who she is, like, the child of. Tapestry is number 38. You know what I mean? Like, Blonde by Frank Ocean? Really? Now, you guys know how I feel about Frank Ocean on the show. You've heard me say it a million times. I'm not a Frank Ocean fan. I appreciate that he is really talented, but that's above Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. And if we're going to talk about Stevie Wonder, and I know people love Songs in the Key of Life, which is a great album, but that's above Talking Book or Fulfillingness. And when we talk about Thriller, I know everybody wants to say Thriller, but Off the Wall is the superior album out of those two albums. Lemonade at number 10. I don't think Lemonade is Beyonce's best album. I've said it before, said it again. I think people love that album because it came with as a visual first. So what is seared in everybody's head with that album is visuals, her in a yellow dress, smashing windows, you know, all of those visuals. She was really smart in putting that album out as a visual album because it's hard for you to separate the two. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill at number 1. Do I think it's a brilliant record? Sure, I absolutely do. Do I think it's the number 1 album of all time? You know, there's a lot that happened around that record. I mean, I was at Columbia for that record. It was a big deal. It is an album that has absolutely gone through generations. It's an album that you put on today and it sounds fresh. It does not sound dated. When I see Purple Rain at number 4, The interesting thing about Purple Rain is, yes, was it like 1999 was, I would say, Prince's commercial breakthrough, right? Purple Rain is the album that took him through the stratosphere. But if you speak to any Prince fan, that is not the album that people consider a top Prince album. Is it his most commercial work? Absolutely. Does it deserve to be number 4? I don't think so. I would actually flip. If I had to flip, I would put 1999 ahead of Purple Rain. I would put Dirty Mind ahead of Purple Rain. I think what somebody's biggest commercial breakthrough is versus what is the best album of all time are two very different things. Back to Black by Amy Winehouse, timeless record. Okay, would I put it in the top 10? I don't know if I would put that in the top 10. Would it be in the top 25 someplace? Sure, absolutely. It would be in the top 25 someplace. And when I look at this list, like Madonna's Like a Prayer is number 77. I mean, that album deserves to be much higher. Now, I'm sure some people who are listening to the show says, of course you would think that because you think Madonna is everything. And I do think Madonna is everything. But I also know that Like a Prayer was a groundbreaking record that sold a gazillion copies. That's still referenced to this day. That song is still played all over the world to this day. And I think for a lot of the pop artists, Madonna was a blueprint to, especially for women, to do what the fuck you want. There were a lot of women who did what they wanted. But in pop, just being who she was controversial enough. But in 1990, like Burning Crosses, the things she was trying to say, people look at the imagery, but they forget that she was actually saying something and telling stories with this record. That should be higher. I don't know. This list just feels like any list that has Zane Lowe as a part of it is always going to be suspect because, he's everybody's best friend. Just everybody's best friend. Everybody's best friend. I mean, Aretha Franklin's I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You is number 40. I'm like, excuse me? Like what? And like Billie Eilish is ahead of Aretha Franklin? Come on. I'm going to need everybody to just cut it with these fucking lists. I understand that it's a subjective thing, but it's ridiculous. It's absolutely, and listen, I'm a person who believes you should add new things to a list as music is coming out. But this just feels, listen, there's great albums on here. The order feels really wrong. Super wrong. And some of it feels like grabbing on people's most commercial moments and saying, oh, this is the best because blah, 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 and it happened at this time. Yeah, and I don't believe that to be the case when it comes to music. Like I think about Prince, right? And you go through all of the Prince music, and Sign of the Times to me could be higher. It's at number 51. That could be right up there and switch with Purple Rain. Like, I understand why people go to Purple Rain, but at the same time, that's not the best work. It's just not the best work. I don't know. It's like, I look at this and you're just kind of like, all right, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is number 78. Right above Lana Del Rey's Norman fucking Rockwell. Does that make sense to anybody? Patti Smith's Horses is number 83. My Life, like the quintessential Mary J. Blige album, is number 86. Blue Lines by Massive Attack is number 87. Yeah, I'm not sure. And this list is really low on R&B. It has no Latin albums on there. There's no gospel. So it's like, if we're talking about the best albums of all time, and it's like you have a little bit of jazz, but it's like Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, right? Which is that's almost like jazz for dummies. Like, if you don't even have to know jazz, like jazz, have listened to much jazz, and you will know Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. So my thing is, you can't say this is a list of the greatest albums of all time and their whole genres you just ignored completely. Like, that's bullshit. It's not comprehensive. And it feels like we need to remember that Apple is a tech company that's in the business of selling you, not even selling you music, streaming, loaning you music, because you're actually, when you're clicking all those agreements and you're an Apple Music and all these things, you think you're downloading, you're licensing music from them. So when they want to make a change or somebody's changing out a track, you don't have any choice in waking up the next day and might find there's a new version of that song that you're now listening to, because it's a tech company. And tech companies should not be the ones making us lists and telling us exactly what what are the best in anything. And right now, we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back. And we're back. So I'm taping the show on Tuesday, May 28th. It's the Princess of Pop's birthday, the legendary Kylie Minogue. I've loved Kylie Minogue since the fucking beginning. Like, literally, and I don't even know what it was about her. I think I just looked at her one day when she first came and it was, I Should Be So Lucky. And I was like, I'm going to love you. I don't know why I'm going to love you, but I'm going to love you. And I do. So happy birthday to my motherfucking Miss Kylie Minogue. And it is also a big congratulations to our New York Rangers. You know, I'm trying to support all of our sports teams this year. Like, New York, we need some good energy in the city because we're suffering through Eric Adams. The New York Rangers are up 2-1 in the Eastern Conference, Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Final. Game 3 is tomorrow night. It's in Florida. And we hope that they win and go up 3-1. That would be amazing. Then come home and close it out at the Garden. That would be fantastic. Our Yankees are doing great. So it's always a good time in the city when the Yankees are doing well. Our Liberty started out the season, they're doing okay. They've lost like the last 2 games, but it's okay. Like, they're doing all right. And, you know, we're hoping to get back to the finals again this year. You know, they're doing okay. And our Mets are, you know, metting, as that usually happens. Lots of changes and rumors around our Knicks. About people signing extensions this offseason. They're saying that Jalen just wants to sign his extension this offseason, which would give him $180 million some odd dollars, as opposed to if he waits another year and he'd be eligible for a max of, I believe it would be $270 million. But I understand, like, listen, sports, one injury away from a year not getting anything. So I'm not mad at Jalen if he signs his contract. They're also saying that Hartenstein is going to get a max deal at this offseason. That would be amazing. Listen, keep the band together. And Anunoby, evidently, they're talking about signing him long-term. So keep the band together. We've got 2 draft picks and high draft picks in this draft this year. We have money to bring some pieces along. And you have some people are talking about maybe we need to trade Julius Randle. And I have to say, I'm not all the way opposed to that idea. So let's see what happens for our Knickerbockers. Let's just hope and pray for lots of winning in the offseason, lots of healing, because a bunch of our guys have all had surgery. So we want everybody to come back and be really strong and healthy, because a healthy Knicks, I really feel like we would have killed it, man. We actually 1,000% would have killed it. But like we said last week, we're really proud of our Knicks. They worked really hard. They did their thing. And here we are. Well, that's the show for this week, kids. It was a short one. It was a sweet one. I just wanted to kind of come on and see if I could do this shit by myself. I hope I didn't annoy you for 30 minutes. And you know what the deal is. Follow us every week on I'ma Let You Finish podcast on our Facebook, all one word. We're on Instagram at I'ma Let You Finish NY. We're on Threads at I'ma Let You Finish NY. We're on TikTok at I'ma Let You Finish podcast. And remember to tell a friend, share a show, talk about it. Thank you. I've been looking at our numbers. They've been going up. You guys have been listening. We're really happy. And the worldwide audience is crazy. It's like Turkey and Japan and Africa. It's like literally every corner of the globe. I'm quite shocked, and we're very humbled by the fact that you guys tune in and listen to us all over the world. And we'll see you next week. Bye.